Providence doesn't follow the latest educational fads. Rather, they use the proven, time-honored method that was used to train such luminaries as Leonardo da Vinci, Galileo, William Shakespeare, Martin Luther, and the founding fathers George Washington, John Adams, and Thomas Jefferson. This method is known as classical education. In this episode, faculty and board members will answer the questions most people ask about classical education. What is it? What makes it better? Which subjects are taught and in what order? Why has Providence chosen this method from the very beginning?
Providence Academy opened its doors in August of 1993. It represented the concerted efforts of 7 families who became the first steering committee of Providence Academy. After reading Doug Wilson's book, Recovering the Lost Tools of Learning, and studying the classical trivium model as described by Dorothy Sayers in her 1940s article, The Lost Tools of Learning, it became our goal to provide high-quality Christian education for children by means of the trivium. Providence quickly became a charter member of the Association of Classical and Christian Schools, and our staff today regularly attends the annual ACCS conferences. We began with 18 students, and primarily through word of mouth, the school grew. Parents still say they're most pleased with the dedicated, loving staff members, the smaller class sizes, and the consistently high level of academic and biblical encouragement their children receive. The Providence Academy School Board and administration continue to plan and pray toward further growth of the school, including the scope of the program as more families become convinced of the necessity and advantages of a classical, Christ-centered education.
It's teaching people how to think. It's using classical, books, classical subject matter, and it's using those things to teach kids how to study anything, how to study computers, how to study the sciences, things like that, so that when they get out of Providence, when they get out of classical education, they're equipped with study habits, they're equipped with being able to analyze a subject, being able to take it apart, to learn it adequately, thoroughly, to make it part of themselves, and then to be able to express it. And that's what classical education does. You're not just feeding them subject matter. You're not giving them an option of a whole bunch of different particular subjects to learn. They are learning how to study every subject, so that once they're out of it, they can study anything, they can learn anything, and then they can re-express it.
It will not only teach them information, but it'll also teach them how to learn, and that skill that they'll develop and how to learn is going to reap benefits for them, not only through school, but into their work lives, because in this ever-changing world, they're going to need to be able to learn and adapt even though they are out in the work environment. Classical education has 3 parts. It's the grammar, logic, and rhetoric stage.
It starts with the grammar stage, which is what the 3, 4, and 5-year-olds are, and then moves into the logic, and then eventually the persuasive stage.
These 3 stages together are known as the trivium. The stages seem to correspond very nicely with the biblical concepts of knowledge, understanding, and wisdom found in the book of Proverbs. Now here's a description of each stage.
The grammar, you're getting loads of information, being able to memorize it and recite it.
Are you ready to do the periodic table?
Yeah!
Okay, here we go.
Hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, helping verb. On preposition, on what door? Object of the preposition. Whose door? Our. Possessive pronoun adjective.
Classical education really utilizes the stages where the kids are in their academic development. Younger kids in elementary school are good at soaking up information, and classical education recognizes that, and we drill them, we give them Latin paradigms, we give them sentence structure, analysis, things like that, The periodic tables, I think you got some video clips of that. My kids are memorizing so much more than I did going to a public school, going to a different kind of school than classical school. They're going to be able to use the things that they're memorizing. They're going to have those in their arsenal. All the Bible verses are going to be tools for them to use in being able to defend their faith.
The first stage is really when they are young, when they're 3, 4, 5 and up, the grammar stage. And that's really teaching just the basics of any subject. So for example, in English class, they would work on doing the letter sounds, recognizing letters, and eventually taking those letters and putting them together to sound out words. In math class, we talk about counting, we work on recognizing different shapes and things like that, so then eventually they can use those things to do more developed math.
All those things are memorizing. Once they get into middle school, they start asking the questions. They start putting all this information together. They start asking the why questions, things like that. Logic stage is asking whys, putting those things together. Why did I learn this? How does it relate to reality? How does it affect me and the world around me?
Currently, we teach the grammar and logic stages, which give the students a lot of information and give them the ability to think through different systems and understand concepts. But we want to also bring in the rhetoric stage, which helps the students to communicate and articulate all the information that they've learned. The rhetoric stage gives the students tools that they need to be able to defend their point of view.
In the rhetoric stage in high school, it's being able to express those things thoroughly. The rhetoric stage is taking everything that you've learned and being able to convince, being able to put it in your own words and express it to other people convincingly.
And so, because one of our premises is false, it is unsound, and therefore the conclusion does not have to be true.
Christianity is true for you, maybe, but it's not true for me.
The second law of rational thought is the law of identity. This says, if a statement is true, then it is true. Therefore, if Christianity is true for me, then it is true for others.
If I wanted to learn how to fix cars, I'd use the trivium. First, I'd learn the grammar of cars. What do you call the different parts and systems? Second, I'd learn the logic of cars. What causes these systems to work, or not work? Third, I'd do the rhetoric of cars. I'd tell my son how to fix his car. If his car worked after that, we'd know that we both learned how to fix a car. In my book, if you can use the trivium to learn how to fix a car, you can use it to learn anything.
Give me a derivative for aqua, William. Aquarium, wonderful. Memoria.
Memoria, memory.
Victoria.
Victoria, victory.
Now we go.
Now we go, I sail.
Give me a derivative for now we go, Zachary.
Navigate.
Navigate.
Historically, a classical education has always included instruction in the classical languages of Greek and Latin. For instance, President Garfield had the interesting ability to write in Latin with one hand and Greek with the other. Currently, Providence Academy trains students in Latin. I cornered Mrs. Stoutinger and asked her why. She didn't miss a beat.
Hardly anybody speaks Latin anymore. Why would a person want to take a class in Latin?
Well, because it's a lot of fun learning, but the main reason is that many of our English words come from Latin words, and as you could see in the demonstration that we had a lot of English derivatives. Another thing is that most students who have had even 1 year of Latin test higher on standardized tests in the languages, also in science and math, because you are using that logical part of your brain. So it's something that helps exercise that part of the brain. We always teach a little bit of Roman history as well, and that helps us have a better understanding of where we've come from. A lot of our government comes from the way the Romans set up their government. So it's just a lot of positive aspects to Learning Lab.
For more details on the learning sequence, go to the school website. You'll find a handy scope and sequence chart that tells you just which subjects are covered in which grades. In this episode, we've added to your store of knowledge about classical education, what it is, why it's important, what sequence it follows. Now I have just one more topic to cover, but it'll take a whole episode to cover it. You see, one common misconception about classical education is that it's dry, dull, or boring, but nothing could be further from the truth. On the contrary, when I stopped by this school, I found out these students really know how to have a good time. If you don't believe me, just tune in to our next episode.